So growing up, you were always taught, ew, that's somebody else's hat. Don't put that on your head. But the truth is, used hats are a pretty big business. So if you sell online, just by adding a handful of hats every month, you can add an extra $200 net profit to your bottom line. So in this video, I'm going to show you 12 hats that recently sold for me on eBay. I'm going to put them on the screen. I'll tell you where I got them, what I paid for them, how long they took to sell, what they sold for, and my approximate net profit. Basically, you want to pay attention to what kind of hat it is. They're all going to be pretty much baseball style hats, different branding, different logos, sports, merchandise, etc. So just to give you an idea of what is out there, you can find hats in most thrift stores and get them pretty cheap. So thanks for stopping by, and let's get started. So here we have a New York Mets 1986 World Champion hat. I picked this up at a local thrift store for $1. It took 3 weeks to sell, sold for $17 plus 4 shipping. I netted approximately $13. Okay, here is kind of a bolo when it comes to hats. The RF logo is Roger Federer, professional tennis player. These hats sell for good money. I had a handful of them, and they were selling for about $30, $32 each. This was a listing error. I had it marked as 2, but I only had 1 left. So this was basically half of what it shows here. So I sold this one for $28. I paid $1 at a local thrift store. It took 1 week to sell. Sold for $28 plus 4 shipping. I netted approximately $23. Here's a great brand. They make a whole line of different things: sunglasses, clothing, hats, etc. So this is Oakley, and this was the Tech Fit fitted hat. It was new with tags, and I found this at the Goodwill bins. So I paid about 50 cents because it goes by weight. Took 2 weeks to sell. Sold for $14 plus 4 shipping, and I netted approximately $11. Okay, here's a vintage hat. Vintage hats are typically going to bring you more money. This was a Marlboro hat from the 90s. I paid $1 for this at a local thrift store. It took 2 months to sell. Sold for $26.75 plus $4 shipping, and I netted approximately $22. Okay, here's another Marlboro hat, also vintage. This was a corduroy hat. Corduroy seems to be popular in the vintage lines. This I also paid $1 at a local thrift store. It took about 3 weeks to sell. Sold for $18 plus 4 shipping, and I netted approximately $14. Alright, I often see these type of hats at the Goodwill bins, where I see Subway, Pizza Hut, UPS, etc., FedEx. So this was a Pizza Hut hat I had found at the Goodwill bins, so I paid about 50 cents. Took about 1 month to sell, sold for $12 plus 4 shipping, and I netted approximately $10. Alright, here's a pretty cool hat. It had logo of Rolls Royce, and it had embroidered on the side and back of a local car dealership. Paid 50 cents for it at the Goodwill bins. Took 1 week to sell. Sold for $9.75 plus 4 shipping, and I only netted about $7 to $8. I priced this one low. Had a little bit of a condition issue, but I figured with the Rolls Royce somebody would want it, so I just priced it low to move it quickly, and it did. Alright, this was a pretty unique find from a local thrift store. I paid $1 for it. It was a dark green wool military beret, and it also had a pin from like Saudi Arabia or something on it. Took about almost a year to sell. Took a long time. Sold for $15.95 with free shipping, and I netted approximately $10. Alright, here was a Burj Al Arab, which I believe is the tallest building in the world, which is in Dubai. I'm not sure about that, but this is a Dubai hat, embroidered. Found this at the local Goodwill bins, 50 cents by weight. Took 2 weeks to sell. Sold for $13.75 plus 4 shipping, and I netted about $11. Okay, here's a great brand when it comes to coolers, Yeti. This was a brand new with tag hat that I also found at the Goodwill bins. So I always say about 50 cents because they go by weight. Took 4 months to sell. sold for $17.75 plus 4 shipping, and it netted about $14. Okay, here's a very popular line when it comes to hats. John Deere. This was a newer hat. This was not vintage. Again, from the Goodwill bins, so 50 cents cost. Took about 3 months to sell. Sold for $12.75 plus 4 shipping, and it netted approximately $11. And lastly, another great brand, Vissla. It's kind of like a surfer skater type clothing. This was also from the Goodwill bins, 50 cent cost. Took 2 weeks to sell. Sold for $14.75 plus 4 shipping, and netted approximately $12. Alright, so as you can see, pretty much your profit on hats, at least for these ones, was anywhere from the low teens up until the low 20s. Now, of course, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. Some hats are not worth selling because you're only going to get $5-10 out of them. You know, I did have a few $10 ones in there, but you're also going to have some hats that sell $30, $40, $50 and up. You know, some good vintage John Deere, things like that are going to have some good value to them. So just kind of use your judgment, what you think is popular. Sporting, you know, MLB, NFL, NHL, those type of hats are always going to sell good. There's tons of sports fans out there. You know, solid brands, Oakley, the Yeti, you know, Rolls Royce, you know, popular, strong brand names are also going to sell. So just use a good judgment when you're picking your hats. And if you get them cheap enough, you know, 50 cents, $1, then it's worth it. When you ship hats, always ship them in a box. I use eBay 8x6x4 box. And I always put the hat in a plastic bag first. This protects it. You don't ever want to ship a hat inside a plastic bag and allow it to get crushed. Just not a good buying experience for the buyer. Hats are also very easy to store, so if you don't have them in your inventory and you want to add them, here's a picture of what I use to store my hats. You can get one of these type of bins. This bin I'm showing you here holds about 35 hats in it. And you could probably buy a bin like this for about $8. Alright, so out of these 12 hats, my total buy cost, $8.50. Of course, that's going to vary for everybody depending on where you are and what type of stores or resources you have to get hats. If you could get them at the Goodwill bins, yard sales, typically you get them cheaper that way. Some thrift stores, mine are only $1, some are $2. You know, some people pay more. So then you're going to have to use better judgment in picking which ones if they're more expensive. So out of these 12, $8.50 buy cost, my total net after paying fees and recouping the buy cost, approximately $160. So $8 into $160. So that's not too bad. If you can add that to your, you know, bunch of sales every month, you're going to increase your profits. So that's a wrap on this month's hats that sold on eBay for me. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.